It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He's Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we move into a Friday, the GOP convention is history. Gary, how are you?
And now the campaigning begins. But I would say successful for the Republicans.
I'm here tonight to lay out a vision for the whole nation. To every citizen, whether you're a young or old man or woman, Democrat, Republican or independent, black or white, Asian or Hispanic, I extend to you a hand of loyalty and of friendship. Together we will lead America to new heights of greatness like the world has never seen before. We were right there in the first term. We got hit with COVID. We did a great job. Nobody knew what it was, but nobody's ever seen an economy pre-COVID. And then we handed over a stock market that was substantially higher than just prior to COVID. Coming in, did a great job. Never got credit for that. We got credit for the war and defeating ISIS and so many things. The great economy, the biggest tax cuts ever, the biggest regulation cuts ever. The creation of Space Force, the rebuilding of our military. We did so much. We did so much. Right to try.
And, you know, one of the things about the speech yesterday, and, I mean, it's obvious it was way too long, 93 minutes, but it doesn't matter.
No, it was very conversational. You and I talked about this in the pre-show meeting, and we agreed. This was, I think, both with J.D. Vance, and I couldn't tell on night three whether it was just J.D. Vance and that's just the way he talks, or if that was going to be the approach. But if you couple the two now with J.D. Vance and President Trump, it's clear that the idea was to be conversational, be yourself.
And that's what I got when I turned. I probably got in about 10 minutes into it because it's my sleep time. So when I woke up, I was 10 minutes into it. And the first thing I thought was, oh, he's talking to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't view it as a speech. I went,
right.
He's talking to me. And so, you know, we've always looked at a convention and you say, you know, what is the purpose of a convention? It's twofold. It's to talk to the average voter out there, and I'm talking the independent, but at the same time, it's about rallying your base. Mm-hmm. And so I agree. I think it was Chuck Ross that I saw on Twitter that wrote, if you're a Trump fan, you loved every minute of it. If you're an independent, somebody who's considering voting for Trump, you watched a half hour, 45 minutes of it, and then you went to sleep, but what you heard was okay.
Yeah. By the way, I love the age of YouTube. On all the live streams, you can take it. You can actually go back to the beginning. In fact, one live stream had all the way back to the beginning of the night. I didn't need to go back that far. I did sample some things, some speeches, a couple of moments of the Kid Rock performance. And all of these things, but really wanted to get to the heart of what the president was saying, and also the delivery, the tone. But it was certainly it was something. I think the approach was just be yourself and talk. Get up there and talk. It didn't. I know there were things. I didn't see a prompter. I'm sure there were some cue cards. Were there prompters up there?
Oh, there's always prompters. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is the fact that I didn't see it. They hid them well, and it didn't sound like he was reading from a prompter, except for a couple of things when he would list things.
Yeah, of course he is. But they all the prompters for that.
And so when the entire thing came together, it sounded like, and that's the thing. The fact that I even questioned that, and I know that.
Yeah.
The fact that I questioned that is exactly because Biden the other day announcing his rent cap and says $55 because he couldn't read 5% on the prompter. And he can't do anything without a prompter. Even when you give him a prompter, he can't perform. By the way, that thing is all but over. I'm convinced it's all but over for Joe Biden. But you see the approach by the Republicans, and that was talk. Get up there and talk. Get up there and speak to the hearts of the American people when it came to the Gold Star families that were there on Wednesday night. It was also about family. The president, of course, was thanking all of his family. That took 20 minutes.
No, but
it really just came off as very human.
But I think the main focus is it came off human because what you were dealing with was a presidential candidate who, over the last, since last Saturday, has felt his own mortality, came as close to death as anyone could possibly come, and he realizes that, and that's how I took it, that he's talking to me as a person. And when he went through what happened, and then when he talked about the other victims, it was a speech from a person who has felt their own mortality and also understands that he's running for president of the United States. That's why, whether it was too long, nothing really mattered. Nothing really mattered except, to me, and again, this is looking at it from a political consultant point of view, which would normally be maybe opposite of if it was normal times. I might say, okay, you went too long with that. But not in this case. Every case is every speech depends on, the variables, everything that surrounds it. And this whole thing is following an attempted assassination. And here's his first real speech to the American public. And it was somber in a way that that I came close to death. I want you to know that I came close to death. But I also realize that this is a great opportunity, and I'm talking to you as a person. You know what it reminded me of? It sort of reminded me of, remember I told you the one time when I went to see my dad, and I got in and put my bags down. It was like 8:30 at night, and my dad went into. I said, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I was watching this thing on rocket engines," and then he monologued for an hour and a half about his life.
Oh, the thing that you
right, the thing I started videoing it for you.
It was great.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
And so my father, as you're going through thoughts, you might have meandered to something else going, and then this thing over here, and then this thing over here. MSNBC was saying, he's wandering all over the place, but he's just as bad as Biden, and it's like, no, sorry.
No, it wasn't, and
it wasn't. No, I mean, but you sit there, for example, he would be when he was talking about Franklin Graham, and then he started talking about his father, and then how his father brought him. Now I related to that because my mother, every time Billy Graham was on when I was a kid growing up, it was on.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
it was an event. You sat down and you were quiet in front of the TV.
So you could tell he was ad-libbing from, that, and then he went to, hey, I do big rallies too, because the Grahams always do big rallies.
Right.
And so he was obviously ad-libbing there, but it was somebody to me who, realized that I'm a mortal being and I shouldn't be here. I'm sure that thought's going through his head, and this is a great opportunity, and you feel grateful, and you feel emotional, and there's a softness that comes up as you're contemplating everything. That's what I took out of it, and that's completely opposite of what I normally look for in a political speech.
Well, it's, a couple of things that I noted is that it hit me while I'm watching it, because I said a couple of months ago when they announced there was going to be a debate, a few months ago or whatever it was, I said, look, here's what they need to do. Biden just comes out on stage, but there needs to be like a WWE-style ramp with loud music and fog and everything and all that. And Trump needs to come down the ramp and, everybody's cheering. But it's almost, with Kid Rock's performance and then Hulk Hogan and, hey, brother, you're the greatest president ever. And all this, that was going on. There was a touch of that, but then when you put it in perspective, what was it? It was a rally. It was a really good pep rally for the base, but it also was a fun night.
Yeah.
You look at it and go, okay, because, again, I'm trying to put on the eyes of somebody who's never voted for Trump, maybe never voted Republican, and I look at it and go, I don't see what everybody is talking about with the closest they came to establishment was Speaker Johnson. That's the closest they came during the entire thing to establishment Republicans. There were no establishment Republicans on stage.
And since he looks like Stephen Colbert, I mean, it was all fine.
Yeah, he's young enough young enough because, could you darken your hair a little bit?
One of the best things I saw was, again, I'm no huge Kid Rock fan.
Right.
I really wasn't when he first came out, and then I saw his biography, and I went, oh, man, he worked his butt off to get where he got to.
Yeah.
It's not really my thing what he does. Mm-hmm. I do appreciate how, the throwbacks he has in his songs to, like, Skinner and all that. I've always appreciated. But his own stuff is like, And so it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. I mean, all right, this is going on. And then I saw on Twitter somebody on X. I want to make sure because Elon Musk is so proud of how busy X has been.
Yes, it's X, formerly known as the FBI headquarters.
and somebody was like, well, it might have been the National Review blog.
Yeah.
You're talking about people that are all issue-oriented. It's like, well, Kid Rock isn't. And then somebody wrote on there, they just said, hey, it's better than Clint Eastwood talking to an empty chair. It's like, oh, my God.
Well,
what a great point.
That's the thing, too, because you ask yourself, you and I have said, when it comes to guests on the show, so if they were going to have a White House spokesperson on, we would ask tough questions, even if it's president we voted for. And so we don't see the why as to having them on because they're just going to sit there and give the statement. If people tuned in and they saw and that, halfway tongue-in-cheek rhetorical question about, hey, were there even teleprompters? Was, again, this idea of tuning in and looking like, okay, they're just reading to me.
Yeah.
If again, all I'm doing is I'm looking at it as, okay, I'm an independent voter or I'm a Democrat who's never voted for Republicans. I've heard nothing but bad about Trump. I'm going to tune in. I'm just going to look at it and see what's going on. If I feel like they're all reading to me, especially Trump, especially J.D. Vance, then it's going to be, okay, they're reading whatever a speechwriter wrote. And we talked the other night. We said, okay, look, if it's anywhere close to the Mount Rushmore speech, it's going to be great. But actually, that's not what they went for.
Oh,
I knew it's a good idea that they wouldn't.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be a Mount Rushmore speech.
Well, the thing is that and our point was the approach on the Mount Rushmore speech was absolutely perfect. The timing, the place, and all of it was great.
You're the place and time. You just said it right there.
And so that's what we were looking for, and what they did for the place and time worked. I believe it worked well. It's, again, you may say, well, at times they kind of rambled. What they were doing is if you talked, J.D. Vance talking about his grandmother, talking about his mom, talking about a couple of things along the way, talking about how he when he and his wife met in law school, the president talking about things, about just life as a person. Those are the things I think that people look at and go, they need to see who you are as a person. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things you see in his first term, he had railed in his campaign in 2016 against Big Pharma. But all the stories that covered him when the Big Pharma execs came to the White House after he won and became president, they talk about how generous he was, how nice he was when he was giving them the tour of the White House, and he was just the consummate host and everything else. You want to show the human side. Also, the side that everybody talks about how he connects more with the people that are wearing the hard hats than he does the people wearing the suits. And when you convey that, then you're going to get a stronger message. Your message is going to get through easier. I think.
And when as two people that have covered politics for decades upon decades upon decades upon decades, we know what we want.
Yeah.
All I care about is, because this is when I put my political hat on, consultant hat on. All I want to hear is the issues that will destroy the other side.
Yeah.
That's what, when I put my political,
right.
And that's not what I got out of this, and I shouldn't have got out of this. The tone was exactly how the tone should have been for the Republicans, because these are not normal times.
Right.
Because of everything that has happened. You think of it, the lawfare, everything that happened across the board. And the thing is, so Trump did hit every important issue. Right. He hit every important issue, but he did it in a way where he was talking to me. And a lot of times when he promoted the issues, it was in a very, very conversation style, which we're not used to. But when you look back and you go, okay, where are we? Mm-hmm. What are the variables around this entire thing going on? What's happening on the other side? Well, the other side is angry. Yeah. They're angry. Right. They're furious. Right. There's going to be raging. You really didn't hear much about the protest at all in Milwaukee this week.
Right.
If there were any, it wasn't great. What you're getting right now is anger and fury from the Democrats. We do the opposite.
Well, I tend to believe now, after tonight, it's just kind of putting the week in perspective. I think Joe Scarborough and Mika took Monday off because they were too busy crying over their candidate.
We've got so much to talk about tonight. This morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. On a hot summer day, the last thing you want to feel is a blast of warm air when you turn on your air conditioning. A malfunctioning AC system will leave you uncomfortably shifting in your seat. Not to mention, it can affect the safety and performance of your entire vehicle and your productivity. Keep your AC system running smooth and your deliveries on schedule this summer with the following maintenance tip. Make sure the condenser on the front of your cab is clean and double check that your compressor belt is tight and in good condition.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara along with Eric Harley.
And we must not criminalize dissent or demonize political disagreement, which is what's been happening in our country lately at a level that nobody has ever seen before. In that spirit, the Democrat Party should immediately stop weaponizing the justice system and labeling their political opponent as an enemy of democracy. Especially since that is not true. In fact, I am the one saving democracy for the people of our country.
The tone there.
I know.
It's almost matter of fact. Kind of, come on, guys. We all know this isn't true. They need to stop this.
Because you and I might be raging.
We've said it with all the things thrown at him. Yeah. I mean, look, one of our first nights together, I thought your head was going to explode over something Tom DeLay said, which wasn't even directed necessarily just at you. I can't imagine with me. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and so, we talked about it. He doesn't flinch. What you saw tonight is him also not flinching. What you saw tonight was that it was, I think, a very steady approach, but also not over the top, and the shouting, and you don't need to do that. Just get up there and be yourself. And that's what it was.
Links to everything Red Eye on the website redeyeradioshow.com.
And I'm Gary McNamara along with Eric Harley, 866-90-RED-EYE. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. You can listen when and where you want if you can't listen live overnight.
Ooh, yeah.
What you gonna do when Donald Trump and all the Trumpomaniacs run wild on you, brother?
Oh, yeah. My friend Hulk Hogan, yeah, is up there with the Republicans, yeah.
I was in a group text today, and I put, I was writing my buddies, and I go, "Why are you calling him Hulka Hogan?" Because I was like, because my nephew, when he was a kid, used to go Hulka Hogan, Hulka Hogan. So I've always called him Hulka Hogan, and I wrote it that way, Hulka Hogan. They go, "What's Hulka Hogan?"
Call me anything you want, brother, as long as you call me. Yeah, it was,
By the way, he looks really good, or the makeup is really good, but
for somebody who tans 19 hours a day, I think he looks amazingly well.
Now, here was something that I was glad to hear from Trump last night. Here we go.
All right.
And I will end the electric vehicle mandate on day one. Thereby saving the U.S. auto industry from complete obliteration, which is happening right now, and saving U.S. customers thousands and thousands of dollars per car.
Okay. The conversation you had with a dealership owner.
Yeah.
I have someone very close to me that works for a company that owns dealerships, and you and I both know very well from that conversation you had, but also, and the conversations I have with my loved one every day, that hit right there, that hit UAW. I mean, the workers, not the union hit. But right there, the workers, because the workers are looking at this going, if nobody's buying these EVs, it's only a matter of time. We got to make plans. We got to do something. Our job's not going to be here. We're not going to be making cars if they keep this mandate in place. The dealerships, all the salespeople at dealerships, the salesperson that when I bought my new truck back in February, telling me the story, saying, basically mimicking the conversation you had with the dealership owner and all the mandates and how it's just crushing these dealerships. That right there hits home with so many people. The people in the service departments at those dealerships, the people on the lines making those cars. We got to stop this madness. I would also like to see, and you're only going to get so much out of the convention, but honestly, let's make these permanent policies. Let's make sure that you work with Congress to get certain things done on long-term policies on energy production, oil and natural gas, long-term bans on such mandates that cripple the economy and give people basically no choice. And these are things that can be done, but they have to be done by the will of the people. Our representatives have to work with the president, because if you go in and you're doing these through executive order, the next liberal president is going to come in and change it right back. So those things have to be long-term policies.
Well, he went directly after the UAW leadership.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I mean, that was something that we have been doing for the longest time.
Yep.
And so when Trump was throwing in our talking points, I was extremely happy to hear that, making the same case that we have, that, look, unions, if you wish to exist, you need to work for a company that makes a profit on the products that you produce. And as we have said, he hit exactly what we had. Your leadership took you down the road of electric vehicles.
Yep.
And they should have been screaming.
They took your union dues and gave it to the party that created these mandates.
Yeah. Which now, they as we talked about, and boy, I never forget the one night where we had somebody, I believe, in the union leadership of the UAW call us and not happy with us at all. I'll never forget that one, but we were correct on that. I'm glad Trump did that. The UAW agreed with the companies. Okay, we'll get a little bit more here because they're going to be subsidizing this, but to subsidize something that you and know that you can't make a profit on it and lead your union members down that road.
Yeah.
And buy into the BS from the automobile companies that were getting the subsidies and listening and parroting the Democratic Party saying it's going to create more jobs. And you had experts saying, no, it's not.
Right.
You're going to lose jobs over this.
Right.
And you cannot continue to make a product that's being subsidized from the government that's still losing $30,000, $40,000 per car.
Yep.
You can't do it. You're screwing your own membership long term. You should be with the Republicans that the automobile company should be selling, should not be forced to sell cars that they can't make a profit on.
Look, you look at these things and you and I break apart business models and we say, all right, what's feasible? How's that going to work? And everybody could see this storm coming. And dealerships were already, and the OEMs were already backing away, saying we can't do this. I saw that Ford is investing a ton of money. I think it was over $3 billion that I saw in the Super Duty truck. Well, because they understand. It was about they need to meet the demand of this. This is what people want. This is exactly what people want to buy. When the private sector gets it right on EVs, we'll know. When they get it right on wind and solar, we'll know. I don't know when that's going to be, but no mandates involved, and leave the taxpayer dollars out of it. When it's profitable, when they come up with the technology, we'll all be in line. That's how we'll know. We'll all be in line to buy it.
He called for Sean Fain to be fired immediately and said every single auto worker, union or non-union, should be voting for Donald Trump because he's going to bring back car manufacturing, and we're going to bring it back fast. And UAW wrote in a post to X that tagged Trump's account that the former president is a scab and billionaire, and that's who he represents. Well, we've gone after Sean Fain big time. Even the guy that was a friend of Sean Fain that called the show one time, he couldn't defend it. He simply said, you guys are exaggerating. We said, no, he doesn't give a damn about the long-term success of the union or the workers. Otherwise, he wouldn't do this. Debate the points that we're making, and he couldn't do it.
He couldn't do it. He just, he was trying to show his loyalty, but that's all he could do in that phone call is display his loyalty.
Well, your loyalty isn't to the union leader. It's supposed to be to the worker when you're a union leader.
Exactly. And here's the, was it Fain that said on, Fox News, said in an interview, well, a significant number, he said a great number of our union members will be voting for the other guy.
Right.
And not Biden, but Trump.
He endorsed Biden. And we compared it to the coal workers union in West Virginia back in 2008 after Obama came out and said, we're going to destroy, that was the message, we're going to destroy the coal industry.
Yes.
And the union endorsed him. And we went, well, what the hell? If you're voting to commit union suicide, I don't know. I don't know what to say when they did that in Virginia. And the same thing with Sean Fain. And we've got, whenever we bring it up, because when we brought it up and we got, like I said, he didn't identify himself, but he was a friend of Sean Fain. And we got union leaders going, no, you guys are right. This is ridiculous. You can't do it. And as we have said, the Republican Party, even if they believe that unions have gotten too powerful, even if they believe that, where you have common ground with the unions is if you wish to make the automobile companies profitable and the Democrats are trying to destroy it, you have a better argument with the unions to say, stick with us because our goal is to make your companies profitable. And unions were formed. The intent of unions was to share the profits of the companies, and you can negotiate. It's all in the law.
Right.
We're not going to be able to change labor law immediately where unions are eliminated. Unions are not going to be eliminated unless they eliminate themselves by being uncompetitive.
Right.
But if you feel that even though in the private sector they're going down, and as we see that, where the place they're growing is government, but you sit there and say, we have more common ground with you than they do because your leadership, Sean Fain, is going along with the auto companies and the government to kill the auto companies, because that's what it will do.
Yep. Back when Gettelfinger was head of the UAW, this was 2008, 2009. And in 2009, it was a bridge loan, then turned into a bailout for GM. But Gettelfinger actually said it in a sober moment. Hey, these companies have to be profitable for our livelihood to be here, for us to be here. And those are the things that you look at. And, of course, they can't help themselves. They're still going to take, union leaders are going to take your dues, if you're a member, and they're going to give it to the left.
Yeah.
Those things have to end. And this is part of this very big, big, big monumental shift. The Democrats used to be known as the working class party, as the blue collar party, as the pro-manufacturing party. That is no longer the case. Hasn't been for a while. And if you want pro-growth to keep your job intact, then there's only one way to get that, and that is the expansion of wealth. That's coming from the right. That's coming from the GOP.
Now, are we just happy because in that speech they used a lot of red-eye talking points?
I think so. Yes. And I printed out a transcript and highlighted all of them from the entire week.
And you're framing them and putting them on your wall at home.
Already did. Yeah.
But this speech, nobody will be talking about it by tomorrow afternoon. And, I don't mean that in a negative way.
Right.
I mean, the news cycle is just dominated with the insanity going on with the Democrats right now.
What the approach clearly is, you plant the seed. You really are. It's about the people who are undecided, who are independents. Maybe they're Democrats and haven't voted Republican, but they're tuning in for whatever reason, and you plant that seed. And it's also the contrast. I can't wait until the DNC next month, because you're going to have forget about radicals blocks away outside. They're going to be on stage. They are the party. And their nominee, Kamala Harris, is going to get up there on Thursday night, and she's going to, do the laughing thing, which is going to sound weird and look weird. And everyone's going to look at that and go, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what to believe. But when I went to sleep, Biden was done. Mm-hmm. When I woke up, Biden wasn't done. And how many times
some liberal journalists, activists in newsrooms, actually a couple of them made that point yesterday. We don't know what to believe because 1 minute it feels different, they said, but then Biden's defiance is, what did they say? Somebody made the comment. His, I'll have to get it because they used the F word. I mean, they blacked it out, but it was, I thought, okay, this is the left scrambling here again, and now it's in the final moment. And the story that came out with Pelosi saying, from yesterday, saying she believes, according to the source story, she didn't say it out loud, but she believes that Biden can be convinced now.
Yeah, well, the one I saw is that I went, whoa. And again, because this is all on Twitter and they've been wrong so much of the time, but when I saw this one that Kamala Harris, nobody wants to be her vice president.
Who would want to jump on?
Newsom and Whitmer, apparently, according to the one tweet I saw, said, no, we don't want to be.
You want to get on the Titanic after the iceberg? No.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We got tons of audio to play from the... We have 93 minutes of audio to play from Trump's convention speech yesterday. Yeah. It doesn't matter. You can criticize it, but in normal times you might be able to say something about it. But you think about how much of the time was spent him telling the story about the other victims and about what he went through himself and his appreciation, for living.
That was a
for
very human
here.
moment.
Right. So it's completely the length is going to be used. I think you're going to hear it from the left, but that's going to be gone. Well, because everybody knows where the Republican Party stands now, and nobody knows what's going on with the Democrats.
My sources tell me that tonight was recorded, and AI will use that to reprogram Mitt Romney to sound more human.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning.
Hello.
Here is an undecided voter talking to CNN after the former president's speech.
The grade you gave it?
I gave it an A.
And why'd you give it an A?
The thing I was looking for was a change, and I felt I heard that change in his voice. I was looking for his discussion on getting unity together in the country, as well as the border control and inflation.
There you go.
There you have it. And so if that was the intent, then they met that goal, and at least with that one undecided voter. And I think that's what a lot of people were looking for, because in terms of anybody who was, and maybe still be on the fence, you're looking at it and saying, all right, because now most everyone except Joe Biden believes that Joe Biden shouldn't be running. Okay, Jill. Although I'm not so convinced with the way things are going. I'm not so convinced Jill Biden is on board anymore. But then you look at the other side and you're going, oh, but I don't want to get into the whole. What they were looking for is not Twitter Trump. And I don't mean X, I mean Twitter. I mean pre-X, back when he was president before. I think they were looking to see if, okay, is it going to be that guy? Because I don't really want that guy. I want to know if there's something different. You and I had talked about the tone had changed. This was before the assassination attempt. That the tone had changed from President Trump. His approach had changed. And we were like, okay, this is good. The approach was different on the debate stage. It was good. People are looking for the proper tone. You and I were talking about during a break, because NBC News is doing the fact-checking. Well, the fact-checking now is even a lot less relevant. I won't say it's completely irrelevant, but it's a lot less relevant than it was in the past, because people want to start with, right now, they want to look at the contrast between the two sides. Because if they're definitely not voting for the Democrats, if the person is definitely not voting for a Democrat, then they're looking at the other side saying, I don't know whether to stay home or to vote for the Republicans. Let me see what they've got. And I really believe this could be the first convention that people are tuning in to see that in a big, big way. Conventions have always been pep rallies. They've always been, the business of doing a convention, and that is, all right, you got your Veep pick, and you've got your presumptive nominee officially becoming the nominee. but also, the whole pep rally thing. And it was that, but it's also a showcase this year. And I think that's why if the approach was get out there and just sound human, get out there and be you. If that was the approach, then that's why. Because they realize it is a showcase for so many people that look at it and say, but I can't vote for Biden. But my gosh, I don't know that I can vote. I really don't know if I can vote for Trump. And they see it tonight and say, okay. Who was it the other night on MSNBC? Was it MSNBC where they said, he looks different? And that's something, again, if everybody is taking notice. And I do believe it goes back before the assassination attempt. Certainly there's going to be consideration there is no doubt that moment was a life-changing moment for him. But the approach had been different before that. And now everybody's making note of it. Since last Saturday, everybody's attention now, you got everybody's attention. That event got everybody's attention. And as a result, you have the opportunity for a showcase before them to say, we're people. We're not the, fire and brimstone and screaming over the top. We're not radicals. We're folks. We're people.
Here's one for you. Ready
right.
for this audio from Trump
What do
last
you got?
night?
All
Here
right.
we go.
All right.
So tonight, whether you've supported me in the past or not, I hope you will support me in the future because I will bring back the American dream. That's what we're going to do. You don't even hear about the American dream anymore. With great humility, I am asking you to be excited about the future of our country. Be excited. Be excited.
There you go. With great humility.
It's those words right there. I wonder if that was in the speech or ad-libbed.
Well, here's it sounded ad-libbed, and the thing is, even I might have said before, well, he's not the guy when it comes to humility. Now, he's got enough money to buy some humility and use it for the week. He can lease some humility. But, he has been a consummate promoter, and I was telling you that in the pre-show meeting. The things that he talks about, he always talks about, the greatest of all time, this and that. But I do believe there is greater humility with him, and I think the greater humility came, again, before the assassination attempt, but certainly even more so after. Because ultimately that has to be your response, is you saw how many people started to side with him because of the lawfare and everything thrown at him. It's not a small thing when a Barry Weiss writes, I was wrong about Trump. A former New York Times writer. And she's doing great work at her website, The Free Press. The actor, Michael Rappaport, saying, you know what? I'm just learning, and I think he actually said this is on me, but I'm just learning about the whole thing with Charlottesville and all the lies they told about him. And you and I wondered, how many rank and file are in that position going, these were all lies. The lawfare was clearly by design. They're going after this guy, but to top it off, an assassination attempt. And we can't have this in this country any longer. We can't ever let it get to this point. We're talking about one guy. Let's look at what his party is promoting. Let's look at actually who they are. Let me see what's going on. And you didn't hear a speech. That wasn't a speech. That was a conversation with America. That's what you heard.
I was when I turned it on. Like I said, when I turned it on, it was 10 minutes into the speech, and I'm heading to the shower, and I turned back and I went because I was looking at his face, and I went, "Okay, he looks good."
Yeah,
because you and I, it's the immediate thing. We always are in this political consultant mode.
Yeah,
and so we notice everything. How does how do they look? What's the posture? And I went, "Oh, it looks really good."
Yeah,
and then I was heading to the shower, turned around, came back, looked at the TV, and went, "Wow, he's not doing a speech.
Right,
he's having a conversation with me."
Yep.
And I went, "Whoa!" I mean that's what hit me out of it, and I think that's what was effective. You had that one undecided voter that gave him an A. How can you be undecided still? Though?
I know.
You have to question. I mean, it's like
really?
Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I don't know.
I don't know.
I just don't know. I mean, I don't have enough information yet.
Well,
I don't know where they stand.
Is it now more about not really undecided between the two, but whether or not I stay home or I actually vote for Donald Trump? Voter apathy versus voting the other side. Is that the decision instead of voting? Because I say that because we see all the polls. We see everything that shows that even from his own party, Joe Biden is not the guy. And if he stays in to the end, he's going to spoil the down ballot. And it's going to, and he's going to be the one the radicals are going to talk about for years. Joe Biden, he ruined it, and he put the Republicans in power. They're going to say that. They're already saying he's going to do that. They're going to be saying it after it happens if he stays in. But, yeah, I was, when they say undecided voter this late in the game, it's like, do you live here full time? I know some Americans live abroad. I mean, and maybe, I don't know, you're living in an area where you don't get the internet. I'm just trying to go through my brain.
We know that, I mean, van life isn't what it was during COVID,
right.
But we know that people wish to get away from everything. And so I got a buddy of mine that Leafy, who used to was my producer at our great affiliate, KXL.
Yeah.
He's out vacationing somewhere in Washington State where there's no, I think it was yesterday again, and then earlier this week, he said, 2 days with no cell. Here I am. I got a cell.
Yeah.
Here's what's going on.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. And so you just wonder, I'm an undecided voter. Who's this Biden guy?
Yeah.
Has he been around?
He's been out. They've been out in the Alaskan wilderness.
Yeah. Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Who is he?
Seems the name kind of seems familiar. Right? But yeah, it's when we hear that, over the years we've talked about it, and you'll still see that.
But in this case, I mean, early on in a primary, you could see it. But I mean, this is a rare occasion in American history where you have really two incumbents running.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not two incumbents, but that's how it's
virtually
being promoted.
It is, yeah,
because we know, both have served.
Yeah.
As president. So
recently.
Exactly. So we know what they very recently.
Exactly.
One just did, the other still is.
The two most recent presidents are the ones that you've got to pick from.
I don't know.
Where does
that Trump stand?
Yeah.
But she admitted inflation the border, whatever, all those points that she brought up, and it's like, well, what the problems are.
Right.
Did Trump convince you that inflation was so bad? Well, no, but he did. But no, I know inflation is bad, and I know that the border is bad, and I want to vote for Trump for that, but I need the person who's going to unite us. Well, number one, that's a load of horse manure. Neither one's going to unite. No politician unites as soon as they tell you where they stand on the issue. Now, she may be united because she agrees with them on the issues.
Right.
But the whole thing is the president's job, as we said yesterday, the president's job is to unite. No, it's not. It's to promote their agenda.
Exactly.
We live in a world where we say things that aren't true, but if they sound good, okay, yep. That, okay, we're going to unify. And,
we're
not going to unify.
Right.
Because there's how do you unify on the radical transgender movement? I'm telling you that a man can be a woman, a biological woman, if the man says so. No, they can't. Well, you need to unite and you need to compromise. How?
I want to limit your free speech.
Right. No, I don't want free speech limited. I like the First Amendment the way it is right now.
I support bills like the one in California that became law that has teachers and administrators keeping information about children from their own parents.
Yeah.
Zero compromise
Where's
there.
the compromise? So you have unity. You have unity when you share the same values. That's what brings unity.
Right.
And not all people that live in the United States, not all citizens share the same viewpoint.
Right.
In fact, some viewpoints can be viewed as insane.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing with Trump talking the way that he did and promoting every single issue. Every issue that he was promoting roughly has 2/3 of Americans behind it.
Right.
And then on other things that seem to be forgotten, here's what Trump had to say here.
We want our hostages back, and they better be back before I assume office, or you will be paying a very big price.
Yeah. Yep.
You don't hear that. You don't hear that from Biden, do you? They never mention the hostages.
No, in fact, he's working to help and has been working to help Hamas.
Yep. 866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Surviving and thriving as an owner-operator has just as much to do with managing costs as it does with generating revenue. Understanding basic principles of operating costs can save you thousands of dollars a year. Costs are not the same each month. If 9,600 miles are driven one month and 10,000 miles the next, two different sets of costs apply for each month. For example, if your tractor payment is $1,850 per month and you drive 9,600 miles in the month, your tractor payment is costing you 19.3 cents per mile. Drive 10,000 miles, though, and that same payment will cost you 18.5 cents per mile. This is one of your major fixed costs while paying off a truck loan. The difference in this example is only a fraction of a cent, which may seem like small change, but it ultimately amounts to $960 more annually on the bottom line. Because though fixed costs do not go down over time, you can reduce your cost per mile with more paid miles. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's our Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. I thought I had an audio cut and I lost it. I got to find it here in a little bit. It's Scott Jennings, basically from CNN. Here we go. I found it. Okay. I thought I had saved it and it didn't save for me, but I found it. Here it is.
The Republican Party, after 1 week ban, is still the party of fun, and the party of democracy is down the street plotting a political coup against the sitting president of the United States. There's the Republican Party.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, the contrast is so wild. It really is. It's like you show up to a backyard party, and then next door, the neighbors are fighting each other in the yard. And it's like, no, I think I'll stay at this party. This get-together seems to be great. But I don't know what happens with the Democrats.
Well, we'll get into that next because it's turning into a zoo.
You've got Obama, Nancy, Chuck. Who else do you need? Here's who you need. Jill and Hunter. Now,
Yeah.
Hunter can be persuaded. We already know that. It's going to take some money, probably some other things.
Well, I mean, first, like I said, it's been every single day. And you and I had said, look, this wasn't over with. when we got to last weekend or, Sunday and Monday, and it was, oh, no.
Yeah.
This is all over. And you and I said, it's not all over. The money's drying up. The donors are drying up. When you saw that Garvey has raised more than Schiff,
Yeah.
you saw that?
Yeah.
Well, that means it's drying up
Right.
down ballot.
Right.
And so it's just they're livid about it. They don't know what to do. But there's a great point that the duly elected president in the primaries, okay, the duly elected president in the primaries that the Democratic voters have chosen, the Democrats want a coup.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. As always, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Download our Red Eye Radio app today. You can listen when and where you want if you can't listen live overnight. Yeah, it was an up and down day yesterday. As I said, I went to sleep, took the nap before I come into work. And when I went to sleep, it's, here we go again. And this has been happening for the last 3 weeks.
Right.
But it was like, okay, this is it. He's out. He's out by this weekend. What was it? He's out by this weekend. He's not going to resign the presidency, but he is out this weekend. He isn't going to support Kamala Harris. He wants at least 3 other people running. And, it got into specifics from Mark Halperin.
Here's the thing. Obama was the last to endorse him in 2020, the last major Democrat to endorse him. Obama came in late. And we said, well, listen, there's a reason that Joe wasn't the guy in 2016. And now you have the situation that's, I think, very clear to everybody. Nobody actually wanted Joe. They just wanted to beat Trump. We've known that for a while, but I think my point is, I think now everybody realizes, yeah, we said it. I don't know how many times we said it. People voted not for Joe Biden, but against Donald Trump. And now the toxicity is gone. Somebody wrote, this is the curtain call for the whole January 6th thing. This is all of it. Over the last week. Combined with the attempted assassination and in part the convention, but I think it was fading. But certainly last Saturday changed so much in the political landscape. We've been saying for a long time we are far past scorched earth, that the radicals have become so radical. Well, now they're not getting the attention. One of our listeners from Milwaukee pointed out that, and thank you, he wrote me on X a little while ago, posted and said, the protesters were there early on down the street, but the organizers actually came back and said, yeah, due to basically the lack of people. Let me see if I can get the what he actually wrote. Milwaukee protesters did one protest on Monday, 500 people. Next day, the leaders said they would do no more protests, citing turnout and other factors. If that's accurate, if that's how it went down, how many people are listening to the radical left anymore? And I mean people on the left. It was never the majority of them. It was never the majority of them, but the people got the majority. Those radicals got the support of the majority of the people in spirit, and that was the problem. They weren't being called out. Things have changed. I don't know to what extent. I don't know for how long. The radicals are always going to be in place on the left. That's just the party they've become. But is it losing? You've been saying for years, at some point, things have to change.
At some point, you can't, when things are self-evident, when things are absolutely self-evident, and you have a political party that gaslights consistently. We've talked about the border. We've talked about the border. We've talked about the radical transgender movement. We've talked about a political party. And if you've been a long-time listener, you've heard this many, many times before. But I think it's important to hear many, many, many times that a political party has to eventually unite. Now, I know that there were some people that didn't like, well, we need to stick to conservative principles. And from what I can see, for the most part, they still do. On economic issues, you can say what you want as to how government should be controlling the economy, whether you're a Democrat and you're talking about a Green New Deal, or you're a populist Republican and talking about tariffs or whatever. But right now we're at the point where the biggest reality or the biggest enemy of fiscal irresponsibility is reality.
Yeah.
Because we have felt it.
Right.
We have finally felt it. Yeah. For years we sat here on the air. Years. I've been doing it since 89. The first thing that I was involved in as a talk show host when I became a talk show host back in 89 was the big sweep, as they called it.
Yeah.
Sweep these congressional people out of office because the debt was too great. And for years, from Democrats and Republicans, the debt's bad, but it's not really affecting us. It's not going to affect us. It's not going to affect us. It's not going to affect us. And for the vast majority of my radio career until 21, people didn't feel the effect. Inflation hit. We now know the effect.
Yeah.
Spending is going to cause that.
Right.
And that's just the reality of where where we are right now. So, you cannot continue to out and outright, as the Democrats have done, gaslight as they have, because it's pure gaslighting. And this is self-evident. We all know it's self-evident. And that's where we got to the point where with Karine Jean-Pierre, she knows she's lying. The press knows she's lying. The people watching know that Karine Jean-Pierre is lying. We all know that what she's lying about is self-evident to all of us. And then we realize that as she is acting indignant, like, you don't see this, which is where you get to the gaslighting.
Yeah.
That then you realize she knows she's lying. She knows that everybody listening knows she's lying, but she's lying anyway, and that's when she's scrambling through her book.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now. And so, I did see Johnson the other day, the speaker, and said, well, what if it's somebody else? And it's like, yeah, but it's all on the issues.
Yeah.
It is a part of the fact that Biden, is, has cognitive problems. We know that's why, that's what the Democrats claim that they want to get rid of him for. By the way, the Democrats claim there's no cognitive problems, therefore they're practicing ageism. They simply want to get rid of they are enacting, by the way, this is by their own standards. I want to make this clear. By the Democrats' own standards. They are involved in a coup to get rid of somebody because he is old. Now, he's perfectly able to do everything, but he's just old. Because I don't know, do you know one Democrat that has said he has cognitive problems and he needs to be analyzed by a doctor?
No.
I don't know one doctor.
No.
I don't know one Democrat that said that. they said, well, his performance wasn't good, and because of that performance and the performance afterwards, well, what's the performance caused by?
Right.
If his mind is great and he simply has some problems communicating that once in a while, well, then you want to let him go because of his age. That's ageism.
How dare you? We're offended.
But, you know,
we're old.
and so eventually I said this in 2018. I remember saying, Eric, they can't continue to go down this road.
Yeah.
And then they
kept going. They double down, triple down.
And having success at doing it. It's like
they're winning. They're still winning elections.
Right. When is the American public going to wake up? I did have a friend of mine in our group text yesterday. My friend Dennis said, "Okay, radio guru, what's going on?" You know, it's like what and my friend Dennis, apparently he voted for Obama. I didn't know this.
Oh.
He said, I did wrong things, before, but what's wrong with America? And I did tell him, I sent him the Democrat. And if you didn't hear this conversation yesterday, the Democrats did a poll where they polled 15,000 people. And we read it yesterday. I may go over it again today because you would view it as an outlier, except Democrats did it. This is a Democrat poll to convince Biden to get out. You look, for example, I mean, in Georgia, North Carolina, up by 10 or 11 points. And the whole point was they put out, who the best candidates would be. It wasn't Harris and it wasn't Newsom. It was names you really didn't know. So if you put names that people don't know, they rate higher. And so when you mention the other people's names, they rated 5 points higher, and 5 points still didn't cut it in those states because they're losing so big, which means it's the issues.
Right.
It's just not Biden's cognitive state. It's the issues. Before Democrats were willing to admit anything, what was that, 3 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
The numbers were moving in Trump's favor.
Yeah.
And it was inflation and the border. That's never changed. So any candidate that they have, that's the problem. Any candidate that they have is perceived as a radical.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what they, of course, will never acknowledge, but it's what people are seeing. We've been talking about this for a bit now. It's before the debate, before the attempted assassination, before the ongoing coup. What's hurting Biden most is the issues. It's inflation. It's the border. All these things that he and his party have caused. It's the approach of the radicals supporting Hamas and proudly promoting their anti-Semitism and what Biden is actually doing versus what he's saying in that regard. And all of these things have a cumulative effect. There's no way they don't. And that's the weight of what you're seeing going against right now the Democrats. Because the media's right now, the liberal media especially, is focused on the whole coup thing. Story that came out a few days ago. 6 Democrats who could be VP picks for Harris. They live in this abstract. They live in the abstract. Americans are living in the reality. The reality. The issues are in right now, real time. This is going on right now. Inflation, the broken border, the anti-Semitism, the pro-terrorist radicals. All of these things are happening right now, not in the abstract, but the liberal media works in the abstract all the time. Here's what could happen. And I believe, in fact, the liberals that are behind, and it's Chuck, it's Nancy, it's Obama, all of them, who, according to reports, are saying we've got to convince Biden to step down. They don't care. This is the abstract they're thinking in, and they're not thinking beyond that. Go ahead, get him to step down. That's going to cause such a wave.
Well, here's the thing, because you saw the story that came out after, which was like Biden is furious at all this. Mm-hmm. And the Biden, here, we'll play this coming up in a little bit here. We're almost at the end of this break, but Biden campaign co-chair calls rumors that Joe Biden may exit the race absolutely false. TheHill.com just put out after Trump's speech, Biden is more psyched than ever. It's like, what are you talking about? He was asleep. He didn't watch it.
Yeah.
But that's what the campaign is putting out.
Right.
So you have to ask the question, is Mark Halperin, are all the Democrats lying about what Biden is saying?
Why not make it up?
Just they're
if you
making
live
it up.
in a delusional world, why not make it up?
We don't need him anymore.
Right.
Let's put the pressure on by lying about Biden.
Right. Let's talk for him if he can't talk for himself.
No, it's a great point. 866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So there's a computer problem worldwide, apparently?
Yeah, breaking news that's coming out. A major global outage impacting operations at international airlines, banks, and media outlets connected to Microsoft operating systems. Ground stoppages ordered, according to certain reports. This comes from an account at X called Insider Paper. There was another one, ABC, also reporting on their X site, breaking. American Airlines and Delta have asked the Federal Aviation Administration for a global ground stop on all flights, according to an alert from the FAA. So you actually have know somebody who was supposed to take off on a flight.
One of my great friends right now is just a few miles away at DFW.
Yeah.
On a plane trying to get to Portland, and said she's the one that informed me. She's Katie Clark, a Westwood One reporter.
Here is from AFP News Agency breaking: Australian companies hit by a large-scale technical outage. It's a cybersecurity official that is quoted there. And their story. We're going to follow this after the top of the hour. More information coming.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. If you're on the East Coast and you're getting up early for a flight this morning, check in with your airlines, because especially if you're on American, United, or Delta, because American Airlines, United, and Delta have asked the FAA for a global ground stop on all flights, according to an alert from the FAA this morning. The FAA is telling air traffic controllers to tell airborne pilots that airlines are currently experiencing communications issues. Meanwhile, flights in the air will stay in the air. But now, I don't know if that means they're going to stay in the air and then land at their destination. You asked me that question. I don't have any clarification on that. Meanwhile, flights in the air will stay in the air, but no American, United, or Delta flights will take off. So I'm assuming they'll be landing, though. No further details have been released. This is just from a few minutes ago. I got a heads up about a half hour ago, because one of my closest friends is going from Tampa to Portland, and connecting in Dallas. I don't know if I've been communicating with her since she's been in Dallas. She's been on the plane for 4 hours.
Wow.
I think they may have just gotten off. I don't know. But they've been stuck on the plane for 4 hours because of this. And she works for our company. She's Westwood One. She's a reporter for Westwood One. You hear her on America in the Morning with John Trout.
Yeah.
Great friend of we're a great friend of their show, and they're a great friend of our show.
Absolutely.
John Trout's always been there for us, especially when weather disasters strike. But yes, she works for them. And Katie, we hope everything goes good for you. She was trying. I think she got a hotel, and the flight she's on still says it's going, but I don't know if there's, I don't know what's going on. But
Right.
that's what we have here. American United Delta have asked the FAA for a global ground stop on all flights, according to an alert from the FAA this morning. The FAA is telling air traffic controllers to tell airborne pilots that airlines are experiencing communications issues. Meanwhile, flights in the air will stay in the air, but no American, United, or Delta flights will take off. No further details have been released. And again, that's a global ground stop.
Yeah, there was one global news agency reporting that it's going on in Australia, and so all reports indicate that this is a global ground stop. Other reports also showing that it is connected, according to the reports, to Microsoft operating systems, and will, again, just following the reports, we don't really know what's at the basis of all of this, just bringing you the latest of what we have here as it comes across. Just started coming across moments before the top of the hour as the news was breaking. And again, ABC News and AFP all reporting this massive, now BBC breaking news, reporting a mass IT outage grounds planes and hits banks, broadcasters, and businesses around the world. Again, that's BBC breaking news. A raft of global institutions from the BBC, a raft of global institutions, including major banks, media outlets, and airlines, have reported being hit by a mass IT outage. Wouldn't be an ET outage. We could phone home. The U.S. state of Alaska has warned its emergency services are affected, while there are reports of London Stock Exchange being impacted. Australia has been particularly hit hard, with flights grounded, supermarkets experiencing checkout chaos. I didn't think about that, but computer systems, of course, and broadcast networks left scrambling on air as auto cue graphics and computers failed. So far, we don't know of any impacts on our computers here. We'll keep you posted. The cause of the outage is unclear, but many of those affected have linked it to Microsoft PC operating systems. An official Microsoft 365 service update posted to X earlier in the day said, quote, "We're investigating an issue impacting users' ability to access various Microsoft 365 apps and services," end quote. However, a Microsoft spokesperson said, quote, "The majority of services were recovered earlier in the day," end quote. And earlier in the day would be, of course, daytime over in the BBC, which it is right now.
Well, and also from CNN, they said it's unclear how long a ground stop will last, so the FAA suggested an update would be available by 5 a.m. Eastern Time. Their grounding comes after a significant Microsoft outage brought Frontier Airlines to a standstill for hours on Thursday, though the ground stop for those airlines has since been lifted. Earlier Thursday, Frontier said its systems have been impacted by the outage and offered refunds for inconvenienced passengers. Other competitors, including Allegiant, Sun Country, also said they were having difficulties, including with their booking, check-in, and trip managing functions online.
Okay, here's more from the BBC. A spokesperson for Australia's Home Affairs Minister said the outage appears to be related to an issue at global cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike. And the country's cybersecurity watchdog said there is no information to suggest it's an attack. All right. So we'll see. That would be the greatest concern, is if there is a group of individuals that responsible for a cyber attack. But according to that statement, at least from out of Australia, they believe that there is no information at this time to suggest an attack. So, all right. Again, banks, telecom firms, it seems to be an IT outage, and many are pointing to Microsoft operating systems. Not sure if that is the case. Microsoft is saying, again, most of the issues The majority of services were recovered earlier in the day. Well, that's the majority. The question is, how much has not been recovered, and also how does that affect operations for any organization? If you talk about the FAA, talk about planes in the air traffic control, everything on board a modern airplane, anything that includes in computers, which is pretty much everything. And so we'll keep following this.
So
story.
our Windows 7 is saving us?
We believe that being so forward-thinking here at Red Eye and insisting to our company all along that we stay on Windows 7, we might be able to save the world. It may be the reason we're still on the air right now. I'm going to go with that. We're heroes.
But if you're flying this morning, check in with your airlines, especially if it's, United, American, and Delta.
Yeah.
Allegiant also, I believe.
One listener who is, and thank you, Coach Anthony, who writes, looks like this started 4 hours ago. Yeah, according to some of the reports, especially globally, it looks like this is hours old now. That it started. The story is just breaking here over the last 30 minutes, really.
And
30, 45 minutes in terms of the media.
Yeah, I know here. I know here in the States for American Airlines, because our Westwood One reporter, Katie Clark, who's on I don't know if she's still on the plane or heading to a hotel, but she had boarded at 10, and there were some delays, and then when they were ready to take off, there were more delays, and she about 45 minutes ago said they're saying it's something with Microsoft. So that was about 45 minutes ago, because they were heading to the runway. They were going to take off. Yeah, they were lined up to take off at the edge of the runway, and then it was called off.
Right. Yep.
So it's been going on. There's been I don't know if the earlier outages are related to this, though. We don't know that. The earlier outages might not be related to what we've experienced in the last hour and a half.
Is it a domino effect? Maybe. I don't know.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's
But
point.
if the systems are, because certain systems aren't being right now at 215 Central here in the States, there are certain systems that aren't being tested to their full capacity. Virtually no grocery stores open 24/7 now, as being reported over in Europe and Australia. The checkout lines at grocery stores being affected because the computer systems are down. So there you have it. It will be interesting to see what is at the basis of this, because the first thing you think of is cyber attack. And there, in fact, there was a cyber attack on a software company, CDK Global. That happened, a few weeks ago? And they believe it was, one of the groups that has been responsible for other attacks. And according to reports, I'm not sure that CDK Global actually ever admitted this or issued a statement. They may have, and I missed it. But according to some reports, they paid the ransom, and it was a ransomware attack. But it really, in fact, had auto dealerships going back to pen and paper, and because their computers were down for weeks. But it also had to do with service departments. CDK, in fact, is deeply integrated into so many dealerships here in the U.S., and their operating systems. And so when that cyber attack happened, it really shut them down for a long time. And then the dealerships had to just get out the pen and paper and start doing deals, selling cars and everything else, and doing it by paper. Would always be the greatest concern. I have a family member who's worked for a company a few years ago, and their company was shut down. There were a commercial HVAC company, and they were hit hard by North Korea, actually. And the FBI was in the offices immediately going through everything. But those ransomware attacks have been out there for a long time. Again, at least out of Australia, they're saying there is no evidence so far that this is any kind of attack, any kind of cyber attack. We'll wait and see what they find later. But if this is a failure by Microsoft, then it's also a great concern, because if you have Microsoft operating systems integrated as you do, I mean, the fact that we have Microsoft OS in so many systems that relate to banking or that operate in the banking industry, the airline industry, and everything else globally, then one glitch, it will all come down to one thing: how quick they can remedy this situation. How fast do they get everything back up and running?
And we'll be looking. There doesn't seem to be many updates on this, but we'll keep you updated. But if you have American Airlines, United, and Delta have asked the FAA for a global ground stop on all flights, according to an alert from the FAA.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, flights in the air will stay in the air and land.
Right.
But no American, United, or Delta flights will take off. We don't know about other airlines.
Right.
Okay, but if you've got an early morning flight, I would check in with the airlines on that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because they, some of it may be affecting. I don't know if some of it's affecting the app. So your flight may be clear on the app. I don't know.
I'm just anecdotally going through my banking apps, and the apps are working on my banks. I have 4 different banking apps on my device, and so far they're working. But that doesn't mean that banks are fully operable. Their internal systems is what would be the question, and for flights, that's a big deal. You talk about if these flights are grounded for very long, that delay is going to basically have an effect that's going to delay flights, for the next few days, quite possibly. Again, depending on how long it goes. So, I hope they get everything up and running very soon.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just looking at other news sources out there from Sky News. Global cyber outage, cybersecurity platform CrowdStrike is down worldwide, causing global IT problems. Microsoft crashes, 911 outages across several U.S. states. You talked about Alaska, right, where emergency services.
Right.
And disruptions in international airlines, banks, and media outlets. And when they say international airlines, that means domestically here in the United States, including American, Delta, and United. Right now, no flights are taking off. We don't know how long this is going to last. But the reports are just, more reports are starting to come in. Heard about this. We knew there was I did see Reuters said they don't know if it's related to the one. They can't find out if it was related to the outage earlier today.
Okay. All right.
That affected Frontier Airlines. We found out about 45 minutes ago because I got a friend who's trying to get to Oregon, and now that's off. She was going through DFW, so we were communicating, and she was on the plane for 4 hours. Other problems or other delays and stuff like that, weather and everything else that got them to the point. And then she thought they were on their way, and she said, there's a Microsoft computer problem, they're telling us, and we're going back to the gate. And and I look for that flight that you would believe would be canceled, because she told me I'm heading to a hotel in an Uber, and it still shows that that flight is on. So
Right,
I don't know
right.
if that's part of the outage or whatever. And so I would definitely check with your airlines, and probably a call might be needed because I don't know if apps are being affected or what by it.
Reuters is reporting UK's Sky News is unable to broadcast live.
Wow.
And that's according to their chairman. Sky News' chairman says that they're unable to broadcast live as a result of this outage out of the AFP news agency in Berlin. Flights have been suspended at Berlin airport due to what they're calling technical problems, but there's no doubt this is related. And so now you're seeing this. So it is CNBC. Cybersecurity giant CrowdStrike suffers major outage affecting businesses around the world. And that's coming from CNBC just moments ago, just a few minutes ago. Cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike suffered a major outage on Friday, the company told NBC, impacting business globally. The outage resulted from an issue with the latest update, according to the company. CrowdStrike is now in the process of rolling back that update globally. CrowdStrike is aware of reports of crashes on on Windows hosts related to the Falcon sensor, the company said in a recorded message. And that is the entire story there from CNBC. A very short update there, but according to CNBC, CrowdStrike trying to roll back that update globally, the update coming out earlier. And so now that's the remedy. Undo that update, and hopefully everything goes back to normal for now.
Get our Red Eye Radio app in your app store. Then listen at your convenience. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Let me just see here. This from NBC, the Bay Area, NBC San Francisco. Technology issue sparked a widespread outage late Thursday. They're on Pacific time. San Francisco International Airport confirmed it was experiencing an airport-wide tech issue. The incident also impacted NBC Bay Area and other media companies from broadcasting live newscasts here. You would mention, where was it? Sky News?
Sky News, yeah.
Yeah. The outage reportedly has impacted airlines and banks. The incident appears linked to CrowdStrike, a cybersecurity company. Many users reported encountering the so-called blue screen of death on their computers when the outage occurred. CrowdStrike acknowledged it was investigating the issue. So this seems to be widespread, and we're getting calls in left and right, from different law enforcement and things like that around the country, where in different states where 911 is down because of this. And as we had told you earlier, we heard about it just again because a great friend of mine, Katie Clark, who works for our company, Westwood One, is a reporter for America in the Morning, and she was traveling from to Portland, Oregon, and coming through Dallas.
Right.
So it was like, oh man, you're coming through Dallas, you're just miles from me, and so we've been communicating last night since I woke up, and she's been. I think they got on the plane, probably about 10 o'clock.
Right.
And they sat in there for 4 hours.
And
then the plane, they took off from the gate to the runway, and then that's apparently when it hit American Airlines, because they thought they were okay to take off at first.
Right.
And then right when they got near the runway, because I was following her when she was telling me everything going on. You ever go to Flight Radar 24?
Yeah.
So I was actually watching her plane. I'm like, well, you're right there. And she said, well, we're not taking off.
Right.
and she said we're going back to the terminal, and so
there's I'm not sure if this is related, but reports since 11 p.m. Eastern, MSNBC has been broadcasting false information. Apparently, it may be due to the outage or the end of the GOP convention. We're trying to follow that story. If you ABC following up, global IT outages have been reported in many countries across the world as airlines, airports, banks, and media companies are reportedly experiencing disruptions. Let's see here. If AFP, UK's biggest rail operator, is facing widespread IT issues. And so all of their rail operations will remain on the ground. So I don't know how long that rollback of, and this is according to a report earlier before the break, I don't know how long the rollback of that update is going to take. Oh, man, people are showing. Okay, so Insider Paper, one of the sources I used earlier, Jorge Ventura is reposting some of their stuff. Jorge Ventura Media, he's been very active on the ground in a lot of the protests on campuses and everything else, and on border things and a number of things. A very good reporter, but he's reposting some things, and they show what appears to be cell phone videos of people at airports showing computer screens, that blue screen of death that you talked about, that you mentioned. And it's like, and then it says recovery on it at the top. You know how Bill Gates made his billions. What's been frustrating with Microsoft, and I don't know that this is directly, again, with Microsoft, but the updates with Microsoft have been legendary. I mean, it's the memes, signing on your laptop and then having to go through, well, I'll write my email to you, 6 hours from now because I'm doing another update. And those have been frustrating over the years. I have a MacBook at home, and yesterday I was on my MacBook, and it showed that Microsoft Office, which I have for MacBook installed, it's time to do an update. And I delayed that update. Now, I have no idea if it would have been related or not, but I am glad that I delayed that update for now if it is Microsoft related. But there are things right now that are very serious in nature. When you talk about global flights being in the air, we have a lot of questions there as to what the backup system is there and how the FAA handles a situation like that. Banks, of course, broadcasting, all these things. But then going into a grocery store in parts of in the U.S., very few, if any, grocery stores are open 24/7 anymore. But they will start opening here over the next couple of hours or so. And if this has not been fixed, then you could run into situations there. But most importantly, if you planned on traveling this morning, as you mentioned, Gary, it's best to look at your app or check in with your airline to find out if your flights have been affected this morning.
When just communicating with Katie, our Westwood One, not our Westwood One reporter,
but a Westwood One reporter,
but a Westwood One.
We claim
reporter.
her; she doesn't claim us.
Yes, exactly. You'll hear her on America in the Morning with John Trout, and she just traveling and going through DFW. She's heading to a hotel now, and I said, "Well, did you rebook?" And she said, "We can't till the computers come back up."
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know. You try calling the airlines these days during the summer, and it's an hour and a half. But I would definitely check in with the airlines before you take off. And we don't know if what you're getting on the app or online correctly reflects the situation. And I was looking at her flight and seeing if they canceled it, and it still hasn't been canceled. It's like it's in a freeze.
Yeah.
So, and she's been off the plane for an hour now.
Right.
And so if you've got a morning, and a lot of people, it's 242 Central here in Dallas. We're right near the airport. And the beautiful thing is if you ever need an Uber right at this time is the time you can get an Uber because everybody's heading to the airport to catch, 5 a.m. flights.
Yeah.
And so you'll want to check that out. But affecting, we know American, Delta, United, some other airlines were affected yesterday. Whether they're still affected now, we don't know. Also affecting 911 systems, affecting broadcast stations, as we know. Some stations out in San Francisco, we just reported that, not being able to broadcast live. Sky News, right? It was Sky News.
Yeah, Sky News not being able to broadcast
live.
Yeah.
And so we don't know. As we are here, it seems that the domino effect is going on as we're getting, more people. Yeah, we are on overnights, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah.
And so news may take a little longer to find out what the effect is, but this is international. It's global.
Yeah, it is absolutely global. Reports coming from all over the world. And again, as you mentioned, the most serious of situations, if you don't have emergency services, if you can't get flights off of the ground, and also if this is to take, hopefully it only takes a matter of hours and not days to fix. We would hope that CrowdStrike is able to get this fix in place and rolling back this update very quickly, because if not, and then the question becomes, okay, what happened with that update? What kind of bug was in the update? Was this just a glitch in the update, or was there something more nefarious going on? A lot of questions, but first we have to get to the fix on this, and we'll see. The Associated Press reporting it. Global internet outage is affecting airlines, banks, media, and offices from the U.S. to Australia, as we've been reporting.
Looking from at the BBC right now, London Stock Exchange is operating as normal. They said their stock exchange is working as normal, but says there are problems with its regulatory news service. The news service is currently experiencing a third-party global technical issue. They have their latest reports of IT outages are coming in from around the world. Airlines, broadcasters, and banks are affected, including Sky News in the UK, which is off the air. Multiple airports in the United States and across the world, including here in the United States, are reporting delays. Some flights suspended. In the U.S., major airlines like United, Delta, and American are stopping flights. In Australia, airport shops communications are affected. Australia's national cybersecurity coordinator describing as a large-scale technical outage. As you mentioned earlier, railway companies in the UK report delays. Microsoft said it's continuing to deal with the lingering impact of the outage.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. What a mess. Let's see here. All right. See if there are any other updates. I mean, it's hitting everywhere. It's hitting all over the world.
Australia telecommunications giant affected. Australia's Telstra group, a telecommunications company, says it's also facing disruption. Replying to a post on X, a company said global issues affecting CrowdStrike and Microsoft are disrupting some of our systems. The issue is causing some holdups for some of our customers, and we thank you for our patience. In an official statement is what they put out. Berlin Airport. Did you say that? Did you say Berlin?
Yes.
I thought you did. Berlin Airport reports delays due to technical faults. Sorry for repeating that, but it's just there's so much news, coming out, and we're just trying to scan everything that we possibly can. Microsoft said it's taking mitigation actions after the service issues. The company says it's investigating issues with cloud services in the U.S. and an issue impacting several of its apps and services. So major banks, media outlets, and airlines currently suffering from the outages.
Yeah.
So that's what we have. That's the latest.
Well, Elon Musk putting in his 2 cents. I mean, he owns X, so he can do that. He retweeted something from October of 21. Macro hard is greater than Microsoft. Okay. It's a brand thing. Look, many complaints about Microsoft over the years, but this is something that cannot happen. I don't remember such a widespread outage. And we've seen outages with airlines. We've seen outages in certain sectors before, and the fix came about fairly quickly. Hopefully this one will too. But this is such a broad outage. It's there's going to be a lot of questions as to what in the world happened here, and how do you keep this from happening again? I don't know how you prevent something like this. But every major news group is on it now. You and I were kind of surprised.
Okay. Software outages. This from ABC7 in Los Angeles, KABC. A software outage linked to Microsoft systems impacting businesses worldwide. The issue was impacting media organizations, including ABC, as well as banks, airlines, and other industries, according to reports by media outlets and technology experts. Earlier in the day, they talk about Frontier Airlines. They don't know whether whether this is a domino effect of that or whether it's the same issue. Mm-hmm. It wasn't clear, again, in this report, if it was the same issue that impacted a wider swath of business worldwide on Thursday night. The site Down Detector was reporting a spike in outages involving companies such as Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, and even Ancestry.com. American Airlines, United, and Delta have asked the FAA for a global ground stop, which they got on all flights, according to an alert from the FAA. The alert did not specify that it was tied to the Microsoft issues.
Yeah.
The FAA is telling air traffic controllers to tell airborne pilots that airlines are currently experiencing communication issues. Meanwhile, flights in the air will stay in the air, but no American, United, or Delta flights will take off at airports like Los Angeles International. Social media users were reporting growing frustration. 866-98-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. We'll keep you updated on the huge global outage, computer outage, affecting airlines, banks, other industries.
Right.
And the latest of the RNC, which ended last night.
Right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. And I can say the planet because at the moment, the planet has experienced global disruptions. This just 6 minutes ago from CNN, which airlines and businesses have been affected by the global tech outage, which has been happening here for the last couple of hours. Tech disruptions around the world have left flights grounded, businesses struggling with IT issues, customers unable to access tech services. Some of the companies affected so far, all flights have been grounded for United, Delta, and American Airlines. That's worldwide. The FAA cited communication issues and has not said how long the ground stop would last. Allegiant Airlines flights were also grounded. Earlier on Thursday, they said its website was unavailable due to a Microsoft issue. Microsoft said Friday it was investigating an issue impacting users' ability to access various Microsoft 365 apps and services. Earlier on Thursday, it said there is it Azure? Is that how they pronounce it?
Yeah.
Azure status report cite that the service had gone down for some customers in the United States, adding it had determined the cause and is working to fix it. Other global airlines, including Virgin, Australia, and Qantas, have been impacted by the IT disruptions, saying they are still operating but with delays. Airports in Melbourne, in Sydney, and other places, Berlin, everywhere. It seems like everywhere in the United States are experiencing similar disruptions.
Yeah, right.
Though flights are still arriving and departing there, except for those that we told you about, United, Delta, and American. Australian banking and telecom institutions such as ANZ, Westpac, Visa, and Optus have been impacted, according to Down Detector, a website that tracks cyber outages. Chinese Microsoft customers are seeing a blue screen with an error message, popularly known as the blue screen of death, Microsoft confirmed on Friday. The London Stock Exchange said its news service is experiencing a third-party global technical issue. Other businesses impacted included Australian supermarkets, state police, its national broadcaster, and New Zealand banks. And across the United States, we don't have the specific communities, though, but across the United States, there are 911 systems that are down because of this.
Yeah, in fact, there are reports on social media that there are several states. We mentioned Alaska, their emergency services being disrupted there. But other reports coming across include Arizona, Indiana, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Ohio. And that goes back to about an hour ago, that report. There could be others, but that coming from DNO News Live. There are a number, and thank you to George in Arizona for bringing that to our attention here a little while ago, but there are a number of, again, sectors that are being affected this morning. The airlines, the emergency services, broadcast, banking, and we're told that there was an update yesterday and that the fix is to roll back this update and put everything back to pre-update status. And I don't know. My question would be, and this is, I'm sure, going to be asked later on, and that is, does the fix require, is the fix leading to a greater outage? In other words, if you're rolling back the update, is that why we're seeing more of a widespread outage because you're having to roll back that update, and that's going to be temporary, but it was the only fix, so it was required at the time. I don't know, but that's what came up in my mind. I'm curious about that. It has to happen very quickly. Hopefully it does happen quickly. If they know what's going on and they understand what the fix is, hopefully it will work. Then hopefully it won't take all day or a matter of days.
And to all of our great listeners here in the States, all flights from Delta, United, and American, according to CNN, were grounded Friday morning due to the communications issue. According to the FAA, the ground stop impacts all flights from those airlines, regardless of their destination, said the FAA. So you need to make sure you check. And we don't know if it's affecting other airlines or how this stoppage will affect other airlines, but we suggest before you take off, before you head to the airport this morning, that you would check in with your airlines.
Yes.
And I know that one of the problems is the summer is so busy where if you call the airlines, it still takes, I know American, you call, If you're not a premium customer, you call, and they'll basically say, we'll call you back in 90 minutes, which is really the best way to do it. But even if you have a flight later on in the day, I would contact the airlines. Because you don't know if the apps are working correctly. That's the thing. You don't know if you're getting correct information there right now. So, man, what a mess this is.
Yeah. Here in the States, you're going to have more and more banks opening for business later this morning in a number of hours, but also the stock exchange and grocery stores. And according to global reports, these are all companies and sectors that have been globally affected by the outage. And so, again, this goes back to the story from CNBC. The cybersecurity giant CrowdStrike suffers a major outage affecting businesses around the world. For those that didn't hear this earlier, cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike suffered a major outage on Friday, the company told NBC, impacting businesses globally. The outage resulted from an issue with the latest update, the company said. CrowdStrike is now in the process of rolling back that update globally. The confirmation came after widespread reports of technical issues across the world. So when we look at it, we're seeing reports that go back hours, as you mentioned earlier, Gary, 5-6 hours maybe, and many of those reports related to airlines. So that's where my question came in. Okay, is the rollback of this update causing an even more outages? And was it affecting those other sectors before they started the rollback? Just a question that I have, and that's, again, might be answered down the road. We'll see. Microsoft said earlier on Friday that its cloud services had been mostly restored after it suffered an outage affecting its cloud apps in the U.S. It is not clear whether this outage was linked to CrowdStrike's update, as you mentioned earlier, Gary. However, separately, the update issue at CrowdStrike appears to have directly affected Windows systems around the world, with laptops showing an error screen known as the blue screen of death. CrowdStrike is aware of reports of crashes on Windows hosts related to the Falcon sensor. That, according to that is a quote from CrowdStrike in a recorded phone message. Again, airlines, broadcasters, telecom firms, and banks were among the many businesses that reported issues Friday, although it was not immediately clear what was causing each of those different issues.
911 lines, I think you said this down, just repeat it again. 911 lines are down in parts of Alaska, Arizona, Indiana, Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Ohio.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. We had a listener that asked the question about former President Trump's plane as he was en route, but we are told that it did land safely. There was video on social media of him of the plane being on the tarmac and then him coming off the plane. I think, is that right, Alan? That he was coming off the plane? Okay, I didn't see the video myself, but Alan, our producer Alan did, and so former President Trump is safely on the ground. And there are so many questions related to this. One of the first things you think of, we mentioned this earlier, it bears repeating, I believe, is a cyber attack. There's no reason to believe just yet that this was a cyber attack. That it seems, again, it's related to this CrowdStrike update. But my question also would be, well, was there some kind of Trojan virus inside this update, or was it just a glitch? Again, a lot of questions have to be answered because this is the first outage globally like this that I have seen, and I have to question again. We know everything about connectivity in today's world. We're all aware how everything is connected, how everything is run off of computers. But there should be some kind of firewall in order to prevent it becoming a problem. It's across so many sectors. You're talking about 911 services. You're talking about flights in the air. And that's a very dangerous situation, whether it's caused by a glitch or something that was planned, some kind of attack, cyber attack that was planned. Again, there's so far no evidence that it was, but it doesn't matter. A glitch can be just as dangerous, and you want to prevent those glitches going forward.
Wall Street Journal here from a few minutes ago. Microsoft has a major service outage, leaving businesses, financial firms, airlines, emergency services across the world unable to access computing systems. Thousands of users reported problems with Microsoft 365 apps and services to downdetector.com. Let me just see if anything was. Microsoft has not responded to the Wall Street Journal for a request for comments. The outage forced low-cost Frontier airline earlier to cancel some flights. Let me just moving down here because this was at 3:50 a.m. Eastern, and seeing if they have anything here. No, they still don't. They don't have in this article about American United and it's just they just released this article a few minutes ago. They have nothing about United, American,
and Delta.
And Delta,
right?
Being down completely, or not taking off. I mean, planes in the air are going to continue on their routes, but no planes are taking off from those airlines globally,
right?
And
massive outage here. It seems to go back to CrowdStrike. That seems to be the case. CrowdStrike has already made a short statement and also told a number of organizations around the world what's going on and what the fix is. That fix is to roll back an update that apparently triggered all of this. And that was hours ago. And so don't know how long the update takes to roll back. But my gosh, if it's integrated into so many systems across so many sectors.
I know.
That is a fair question. How long does the rollback take? And then you're going to get to individuals who have, if you've got a laptop at home and then you log on and that update was automatic and then you've got the blue screen of death. You're going to have a lot of people who are irate about that, but hopefully CrowdStrike will have, or Microsoft will have some kind of patch and fix for that. You would hope very quickly.
We'll have the latest update for you. There it is again. U.S. Sky News still unable to broadcast.
Wow.
In the UK.
Yeah.
So Friday morning, the network's executive chairman, David Rhodes, apologized to viewers for the interruption, saying many news reports are still available online. We know that some TV stations here in the United States also having problems.
Right.
We'll have the latest coming up. And if we can get to it, the end of the GOP convention. And really, though, I mean, that's, I can guarantee today is going to be all focused on. There'll be a little bit on the convention, the morning shows, then it's going to shift right back to what's going on with the Democrats.
I think so.
And whether Biden is out or not. What a crazy day it was yesterday on that.
Gosh.
So that more all coming up. 866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Drivers must always be prepared for a roadside inspection. This means drivers should always have their personal, vehicle, and company credentials organized and ready, and having any shipment paperwork such as bills of lading or hazardous materials shipment emergency response information organized and ready for the inspection official. Just an FYI, the top 2 violations written against drivers every year, as well as during Operation Road Check, are log, general form and manner, and log not current. Both are completely avoidable if the driver keeps the log accurate, compliant, and current at all times. Having the vehicle ready for inspection involves the driver conducting daily inspections and making sure any problems that are discovered are immediately corrected. Vehicle readiness also requires the company to make sure that the vehicle is current on all scheduled maintenance and that the maintenance schedule is adequate. This will make sure the driver is being given a sound vehicle to start with. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Latest on the global tech outage. United Airlines cites third-party software outage. Just in from CNN. United Airlines put out a statement saying that all aircraft were grounded while it worked to fix a third-party software outage after the FAA announced the ground stop of several major U.S. carriers. A third-party software outage is impacting computer systems worldwide, including at United. While we work to restore those systems, we are holding all aircraft at their departure airports. Flights already airborne are continuing to their destination, United said. Delta, American, and Allegiant Airlines are all grounded. Regardless of the flight's destinations, the FAA has said. International airlines, including Virgin Australia and Qantas, also have reported tech disruptions, though operations are still continuing. So, and we don't have, I mean, that's one thing because a lot of people, it's Friday morning. A lot of people, flying places on vacation and everything else. We really don't have any information for you. We can't actually tell you whether you check the apps, whether it's accurate or not.
No, that's true. I was able to log on with my, in fact, 4 different banking apps. And it shows a little more than I thought I had in the bank, a little over $1 trillion. But I don't think that's part of the glitch. But I don't know, again, if that's going to remain the case. I don't know if the apps are affected at all. Those could be third-party and not affected by the CrowdStrike issue here. We're looking at the really CrowdStrike is the integration of the main systems in these sectors when you talk about banking and airlines, but also 911 operations in several states now that are affected by this. And we're going to follow this throughout the morning, and hopefully CrowdStrike, as they have stated, is going to be able to roll back this update, and they believe that will be the fix. And we'll see if that is going to actually be the case before the business hours start here in the U.S. I think one of the things you have to look at, too, is, again, all right, or the question I would have is there a bug that was in the update, or was that a virus, or was that so many questions, and I think CrowdStrike has all their resources now in rolling back that update, but we'll have to answer a number of questions by the media a little bit later today, as the media is one of the sectors that's directly affected here globally.
Listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today and listen when and where you choose if you can't listen live overnight. Talking about the global tech outage, disruptions across the world, including the United States. Major U.S. carriers, including Delta, United, and American Airlines, right now have flights grounded, regardless of destination. That's according to the FAA, and international airlines, including Virgin Australia and Qantas, also have seen disruptions. But here in the States, and actually worldwide, Delta, United, and American are not flying right now. The planes in the sky will go to their destination, but no one is taking off. And we have no update as to when that might change. You've got banks affected by it, media outlets, Sky News in Great Britain, not broadcasting. There are different media outlets reporting here in the United States. local TV stations that don't have the ability to broadcast live.
Mm-hmm.
The widespread, this just in from CNN a few minutes ago, a widespread worldwide computer malfunction is affecting hospitals and other health services in Israel. And so you see, if it's affecting hospitals, didn't even think about that here in the States and around the world.
Yeah, sure.
What effect it may be having on hospitals. But we know in Israel is affecting their services. The health ministry said in a statement, quote, "This is not a cyber attack, but a malfunction in one software affecting servers and computers," the ministry said. Now, we've been told it's been linked to CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike, this from CNN again, the disruption appears to stem from an issue with cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike. Industry experts said Microsoft Windows is among its clients. They said the global IT outage appeared to have been caused by an issue with the CrowdStrike antivirus software, according to a professor, Salal Kanhiri of the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia, which, by the way, they're having major outages, too, in Australia. It appears to have impacted Windows machines with this software installed, causing them to crash, the blue screen of death, as they call it, and get stuck in boot loops. An update to their software appears to have been rolled out globally without proper testing. That's not good.
No. Wow.
And so, as we also said earlier, 911 systems, some 911 systems in certain states, some states around the country are not working. And so we'll keep you updated on this. But if you've got a flight, I would say contact the airlines. You've got a flight sometime today. We don't have any. Earlier they had said they were hoping for 5 a.m. Eastern, but I haven't seen an update on that one at all. Have you?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen an update there. A number of the media groups are, including Fox News Digital, at least their website hasn't been updating. I don't know if that's because they're part of Sky News and maybe their outage is affecting everything across the board. Not sure. But there hasn't been an update there at foxnews.com, assuming that will come across here very shortly. But many in the media are affected. A couple of updates coming across here from CNBC, as CNBC is doing a now pretty much live coverage on their website, cnbc.com. And it's basically just the updates that you brought us just a few minutes ago, Gary. The latest Microsoft, a few minutes ago, Microsoft says services continuing to see improvements. And this in an update at 8:55 a.m. UK time. That would be 3:55 Eastern time here in the States. Microsoft 365 said on a social platform, in fact, it was on X, that, quote, multiple services are continuing to see improvements in availability as our mitigation actions progress, end quote, according to a Microsoft webpage tracking the status of its services. Quote, users may be unable to access various Microsoft 365 apps and services, end quote. Issues are affecting apps including Microsoft Fabric, Teams, Purview, Defender, SharePoint, and OneNote, according to the tracker. So let's see if we can, in fact, bring up that page. I'm almost afraid to click on anything. Well, okay. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. Basically exactly what we just said. A number of things within the Microsoft umbrella that are affected. But I say that because we're getting some communications from listeners who work for companies, large companies, in fact, who are told that when you go to work, don't turn on your computer just yet, just wait. And that's because updates happen in the middle of the night. Updates happen when we're on the air.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah. Now,
on normal days, we know that.
It would be great because we're waiting for the latest update on Windows 7.
Well, we're not getting that for a while.
Yeah, no. We just like to go to Windows 7.2. CrowdStrike and Microsoft shares lose ground. Of course, this is from CNBC. This is 10 minutes ago. Shares of tech giants CrowdStrike and Microsoft were losing ground. In pre-market trading, of course, the sentiment is going to, the confidence in both companies is going to be a little bit off. I don't know how long-lived that is, but CrowdStrike stock was down over 14% at 9:27 a.m. London time, with Microsoft shares lower by 2%. Again, that's from CNBC.com. London Stock Exchange Group on Friday said it's investigating technical issues after it was hit by a global IT outage affecting its pricing data and news communications. In a notice on its website, LSEG, London Stock Exchange Group, said that it's, quote, currently experiencing a third-party global technical issue preventing news from being published on londonstockexchange.com, end quote.
We're going to continue to update you on this throughout the rest of the show this morning on the global outage. We do want to just, briefly, a couple things we want to get in. This happened about 2 hours ago. The first 2 hours of the show, we were talking about the convention and everything that went on. So when our show is done and the podcast comes up, you can check all that out and all the audio and everything else. Few things that we wanted to get in. First off, what's going on with the Democrats right now? And I mean, yesterday was just unbelievable, because what I always take a nap before I come in, and so I go to sleep about 6 o'clock, and then have to catch up when I wake up at 10, as I did last night.
Yeah.
But the one thing is, when I went to sleep, it was, okay, Biden's gone. When I woke up, Biden's not gone.
Right.
In fact, you see a number of campaign people that work for his campaign say, absolutely not. After Trump's speech, thehill.com was reporting the campaign came out and said, no, Biden is completely and totally energized, after the Trump speech. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is well after midnight. You're saying that Biden is up and watched this whole thing?
Yeah, right.
But that was what the campaign came out with. Really, it was incredible. I saw this as Robert Costa from CBS. Sources close to President Biden tell me tonight they're furious that while the president is trying to recover from COVID at home, a pressure campaign keeps picking up speed. Lots of anger towards some donors for talking of money drying up if he doesn't quit, toward what we see, and also towards what they see as muted support from President Obama, and towards Democratic leaders who, one source says, are hiding behind statements. If they want him out, they'll have to push, the source says. He feels disrespected, still a fluid moment, and no one has figured out an effective way to quiet this drift of nervous Democrats away from Biden, and know many Democrats want Biden just to break at some point soon. We talk about how this was started yesterday, and when the story first came out. And when the story first came out, I mean, it was specific. I mean, it was giving such specific details where you went, this might have credibility. Because it said Biden, will be out by this weekend, right? Biden's going to be out this weekend.
Yep.
That he's not going to endorse Kamala Harris.
Right.
He wants at least three other people to be in this basically mini primary and open convention where they would decide at the convention who the nominee would be, and he's not going to resign the presidency. Well, those were specific. Those are 4 specific points. So we're like, well, I don't want to speak for you, but I think a lot of people were like, oh, this might have some credibility, and then boom. What you look for is, will the campaign strike back immediately? And the campaign came back and said, absolutely not. This is absolutely false. So either the campaign is lying and Biden is lying, or all the Democrats and these sources are completely making up stories about Biden and have been doing it for quite some time.
Yeah. Because we have to remember that they, on the left, live in the abstract, and they also live in a delusional state on so many issues. So why wouldn't they? He can't speak for himself. We'll just kind of make it up as we go along, out of pure speculation. Or, oh, I know him, and I know what he's thinking. Trying to basically project that onto the situation. Look, it sounded yesterday, and I'm still confident that he's not going to last. I don't know physically. I started saying this, a couple of months ago? It was the first time I had said it. That physically and mentally, he doesn't look like he can make it to November in terms of the schedule that would be required for him to do the campaigning. Now you add COVID to the mix. And we saw him trying to get on the plane, needing help getting in the car. I don't want the president to be sick. I don't want the president to suffer. I don't want this president to be president after January 20th of next year, but I don't want him to suffer. I don't want him to be in a poor physical state. But it is very clear now that he is not doing well, and I don't know if that is just COVID. He's not feeling well. He could be running a fever, which makes you very arthritic. I've had COVID twice, and I'll tell you the second time, man, it can beat you up. I have an underlying genetic lung condition, and it didn't fare well for me. I still suffer on days when we have low air quality here in the Dallas area, which is quite often here in the summer. I don't want that. I don't wish that on anybody. I don't want that for him. But it is, to me, just observing him. He's moving a lot slower. There has been a measurable decline, I think, physically and mentally. And I said a few times, and I do believe this, he's a very old 81.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And again, I do wish him personally, I wish him to be well. I want him to be well. If he is going to go into retirement, because he's going to go there at some point, then that's going to be, I don't wish that to be painful or torturous physically for him or anybody. But there is something going on, and I just don't have the confidence that physically he can finish what it would require to campaign for an election. Even if he's 50 points behind in all the polls, he still has to be out there, and I just don't think physically he can handle it anymore.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the top of the hour, the latest on this global outage. If you're flying this morning or anytime today on American, United, Delta, or Allegiant Airlines, you better contact them because all of them right now have stoppages. No flights are taking off from those airlines at all, globally.
Right.
Because of this outage. We'll have the latest update on the outage. And also, somebody we've quoted before, a Democratic political consultant, Douglas Schoen, who a few weeks back, remember we read the article where he was saying that Biden needs to be more MAGA?
Yeah.
And actually talking about, border security, building a wall. And we were like, well, what's going on here? Well, he says, I may be a Democrat, but Trump rose to the occasion, and now the election may already be over. We'll get to that more coming up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.